Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's event, Opening Doors to a Penn State Degree. I'm Rich Bundy, and I'm proud to serve as Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations here at Penn State. I'm your MC tonight also, and so as we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes to get us started. First off, this session is being recorded, and afterwards it'll be shared with you and with those who were interested but couldn't be with us live tonight. Your microphones are muted, but please feel free to turn on your cameras so that we can see one another. There's also closed captioning available for tonight's program. You should be able to find that in the closed captioning button in the control bar at the bottom of your screen. We're going to have a Q&A for the session at the end of the program. There's an opportunity for you to enter your question into the chat box, which I'll be moderating throughout the program. You should also be able to find your chat box at the bottom of your screen. And like I said, I'll be monitoring it throughout the evening. Now, we may not have enough time to go through all of your questions tonight, but if we aren't able to get to your question, we'll be sure to follow up at a later date. So with the housekeeping announcements out of the way, let's get into our program. Tonight, sorry, I lost my space. Tonight, we're talking about a topic that's all too familiar to all of us, student financial need. When we started the Greater Penn State campaign, we recognized that one of our top priorities would be helping students to overcome financial and other barriers to earning their degrees on time and on track to success. And that's because rising costs and declining state support have complicated the financial matrix for our students and their families. They often face a range of other challenges, from difficult family circumstances to balancing work and other obligations with their degree programs. And through the pandemic, we've seen just how acutely these struggles can impact our students. In dealing with emergent questions around race and injustice, we've also seen that these burdens are often heavier for students from communities that are historically underrepresented in our higher education community. We're working hard to help the situation from all angles, though, and many of you have already contributed to our efforts. At the heart of it all is our hope that Penn State students can find the fullest expression of their passions and potential, unburdened by the financial stresses of a college education. And in the process, we hope they come to enjoy the same life-changing experiences that so many of us, myself included, had as Penn State students. As of late, one of our greatest weapons in combating financial need has been the Open Doors Scholarship Program, which provides support to undergraduates who participate in one of 5 programs designed to keep them on track to a timely and affordable degree. And the Educational Equity Matching Program, which many of you heard about at an event earlier this spring, helped us to directly address problems of educational access and affordability for students from historically underrepresented backgrounds. Over the next year, we'll continue to promote these scholarships and we'll innovate new means of support. But tonight, you'll hear more about these programs, the student need landscape at Penn State, and how your support can make a difference in our imperative to open doors to a Penn State experience for more students from every background. So to get things started, it's my honor to introduce the 18th president of the Pennsylvania State University, Dr. Eric Barron, and his wife, Molly Barron. Eric?
Well, thank you. Good evening. We've learned many lessons during the pandemic, and let's face it, most of them have been bad. I can tell you I have a little rut in my carpet where my chair sits, and I'm not allowed to get any farther or any closer to the computer screen because my chair just ends up in the same spot. So clearly I've been sitting for way too long in front of the computer. But we've also seen some incredibly positive things. In particular, Molly and I have been humbled and gratified by the overwhelming support and concern shown for our students by our alumni and friends. Thank you for being there for our students and for being with us this evening. We have an ambitious vision for our campaign and Penn State. We're reimagining the land-grant mission for the 21st century. In terms of student support, this means a continued emphasis on providing access to higher education. That's what a land grant should be all about. It also demands that we focus on providing robust support for students, financial support, and other types of support. Through our Open Doors initiative, we're finding innovative ways to do both We're committed to ensuring that we reach students of every background. That's why we've developed open doors that provide access and support for students during pivotal moments in their Penn State experience. For those unfamiliar with the programs, I'd like to briefly describe them now. So I'll begin with Raise Me. Raise Me is a program that rewards students' hard work with a micro scholarship. It's available to students enrolled at specific Pennsylvania high schools serving low-income areas or those enrolled in federal free lunch program, regardless of what the high school is. The whole idea here is you take a college-ready course and you earn a micro scholarship so that if you come to Penn State, those points can translate into a scholarship and allows them to meet their goals and provide a foundation for their education. Think of it this way. If these students are taking college-ready classes, that's a class they don't have to take when they come to Penn State, so they're closer to getting to their degree, and that saves them money. Next is the aptly named Pathways to Success Summer Start program. You know, we have so many students, they work too many jobs. They don't do as well in their classes because of it. They drop classes more frequently. They take a lower load of classes. And the simple fact of the matter is they cannot graduate in 4 years if they graduate, if they don't drop out beforehand. And we know the biggest increase in student debt occurs when you go from a year 4 to a year 5 or to a year 6. And those students are working so hard, they don't even have a Penn State experience. PASS helps students achieve 18 extra credits prior to their second fall. They have a scholarship, they're promised a summer job, 6 credits their first summer, 12 credits their second summer. So it specifically addresses the notion of getting their degree on time and getting a Penn State experience at the same time. And it saves them an enormous amount of money. Next is the Student Transitional Experiences program. We discover that when you transfer from one campus to the next, you do just great, but it costs you an extra semester to get to the finish line. So think about the programs that we might institute that saves individuals who are saving money at a Commonwealth campus. And now let's save them and not charge them that extra semester when they transfer at campus. Let's make sure they move from campus to campus without missing a beat. You've probably heard also about me talk about the tragedy of someone coming close to the end of their degree in good standing, but because of some personal issue, typically a financial hardship, they don't graduate. Complete Penn State is designed to be a lifeline for those students. It provides counseling and financial support to students entering their final 2 semesters who are at risk from dropping out due to some unexpected hardship. Here, Penn State gets quite personal, tapping a student on the shoulder and saying, what's going on here? We need to get you across the finish line. And that program, Complete Penn State, helps them do that. Finally is a Smart Track to Success program, which focuses on the specific needs of our World Campus community. After all, we're one degree, no matter how you get that degree to campus, University Park, or World Campus. So, of course, World Campus students should be offered scholarship support and mentoring to these distance learners to ensure their success. These are all great programs, but great programs are nothing without funding. So we created Open Doors Matching Program. Now concluded, it raised more than $30 million and secured more than $60 million in matching funds from the university. This campaign has, to date, awarded more than $7 million in support to students in the 5 Open Doors programs that I just mentioned. Over the past year, we also renewed our commitment to open doors for students who, due to systemic issues with race and injustice, face greater social and economic barriers to a full Penn State experience. Through a matching program launched last year, we set out to greatly expand the number of educational equity scholarships Penn State offers. Although our matching program is now concluded, thanks to a tremendous response from alumni and friends, our fundraising in this area remains a priority. In addition, other scholarships across the university are giving students the freedom to pursue studies, work experiences, and co-curricular activities that align with their passions and advance their development as people and as professionals. In effect, all scholarships are opening doors. It's no surprise that the pandemic has created more urgency for us to pursue the open doors imperative and to broaden our focus to also recognize the role of ancillary support systems. For example, academic advisors help students to navigate the most efficient path to a degree and help to craft a rewarding educational experience. And accessible and affordable technology, laptops and reliable internet facilitate the productivity needed to graduate on time. You know, it used to be that we would say, oh, you need an extra semester, please hand your check over. But this is a university that wants students to get that degree, get it on time, and save as much money as possible in the process. Well, as we begin the final lap of the campaign, we will strengthen our focus on supporting students at every turn, financial, emotional, logistical, and deepen our commitment to the open doors imperative. Scholarships are critical ways that alumni and friends can be involved, and we ask that our most generous supporters join us in our efforts to open doors. Before I turn things over to our next speaker, I wish to thank you again for your interest, for your commitment to public higher education, and belief in the transformative power of Penn State. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Melissa Coons, our Assistant Vice President for Undergraduate Education and Executive Director for Student Aid at Penn State. Melissa has been with the university for more than 36 years and has been with the Office of Financial Aid for almost 26 years. She received her undergraduate degree from Lock Haven University and a master's degree in counselor education from Penn State. She's actively involved in state and national organizations that support college students and the student aid profession, including the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators and the Higher Education Loan Commission Coalition, where she was just named chair-elect. With that, I'll turn it over to Melissa. Afterwards, we'll have a Q&A session, and you'll hear more about how your support can truly make a difference. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Barron, for your kind introduction and your ongoing support to raise scholarship awareness for our students. I believe strongly that educating our community of students is the pathway to our success as a society. We in the Office of Student Aid help our students to understand their funding options, be it the receipt of federal, state, institutional, or private dollars, or by using the university's payment plan, as information is the one commodity we have to freely share. We administer aid programs for the institution, but the primary selectors of student scholarship recipients lies with the various campus, college, and other administrative units. Our belief is once the university opens its doors to admit a student, we have the obligation to provide funding and support as needed to that student to help them complete their degree. To provide a concept of how much support Penn State provides their students, let me share some figures from our annual report. In 2019-20, the Office of Student Aid managed $1.2 billion in aid to over 70,000 student aid recipients. Of those funds, institutional aid represented not quite 25% of those total funds at a little over $300 million to almost 42,000 recipients. However, almost 45,000 students and their families borrow over $700 million in loans to finance their education. The average loan debt for our baccalaureate student graduates is inching up to almost $40,000. In the 2019-20 academic year, almost 10,000 students graduated from Penn State with an undergraduate degree who had also funded their education with loans. So think about it. Collectively, those graduates left Penn State with $400 million in debt. A subset of our students also experience unique challenges with their funding of their education. Annually, we award the federal Pell Grant to over 18,000 students who represent our lowest socioeconomic subset of students. In addition, last year, 17,000 first-generation students and 15,000 underrepresented students received some form of financial aid at Penn State. However, the reality of the student experience and the challenges students face can't be fully captured in the numbers alone. We not only need to help students find funding to pay their tuition and fees, but students also need funding for items such as housing, meals, books. In addition, helping students pay their direct expenses is not the only support that the institution needs to provide to them. Program support is also essential. For example, having adequate resources to provide academic advising and access to technology are key factors that complement the student experience and speed their time to degree. The Open Doors suite of programs is a key example of our commitment to helping students attain their degree. Personally, the Open Doors program that I find to be the most rewarding and helpful to students is the complete Penn State funding. Many times, students who have attended almost 4 years run out of options to continue to borrow money to fund their education expenses so they can receive their degree. The complete Penn State program provides students who are having either personal or financial struggles near the end of their degree with that last little bit of funding needed to bring them to graduation. To me, this type of support embodies the land-grant mission we are entrusted to carry out. Let me now turn the conversation back over to Rich.
You'd think after a year I'd learn how to turn my microphone on. Thanks, Melissa. We really appreciate your participation in tonight's program and also your partnership with the Development and Alumni Relations Office as we continue to raise more scholarship support and you administer it so well. We're really grateful for that. Melissa talked a bit about the impact of the Open Doors initiative and in particular, the fact that we're targeting Open Doors as one of our primary areas for focus as we work through the remaining year of the campaign. Tonight, we thought we would bring you a story of one of our Open Doors recipients. Her name's Polly Prout, who benefited from 2 Open Doors programs, the Pathway to Success Summer Session and STEP, and is well on her way to success after graduation this spring. We're going to play a short video about Polly's experience at Penn State, and then after the video, we'll have our Q&A session. So if you haven't already started to put questions into the chat session, I invite you to do that now, and let's run the video.
I feel the most like myself. I feel the most comfortable here. It's calm and peaceful. I love having these wide open spaces and being able to see for miles. My dad is a 5th generation farmer, so my brother and I guess would be the 6th generation. The pressure of being the next generation is kind of a lot. We're always expected to be coming up with ideas and making sure that this farm is going to last so that, our kids can see it and our grandkids can see it. So it's a lot of pressure of trying to figure out what you want for yourself as well as the expectations of your family.
Polly was always a good student, and when she made up her mind she was going to Penn State and got in,
something kicked in for her.
clicked. She got better grades in college than she actually did in high school. I'm like, who is this girl? It totally opened up for her.
Yeah, she opened up and was able to accept everything that school had to offer. She kind of like lit up, you know, her thirst for knowledge totally lit up.
Thirst for life.
Yeah, totally.
I'm third generation Penn Stater, so making sure that I graduate from here and on time is everything. I'm a woman in STEM, being in food science. Had I not been a part of the Step and Pass program, I would have struggled a lot more with my study habits, with getting all the credits I needed within 4 years, and I would not have met the amazing people that I am friends with now. I did receive several scholarships and grants, several from the Department of Agriculture, which I have been very grateful for, and then several others for academic excellence. And I would not be here without those scholarships. Being a student at Penn State right now is definitely a lot different than it was before. One of the hidden benefits of remote learning is I've improved my time management skills. I have to set a schedule for myself and stick to it every day to make sure that I learn what I need to learn. One of my favorite classes this semester is a lab that I do remotely from my apartment, and we're learning about fermentation, which is one of the most interesting processes. It's also a lot of fun because I get all the materials and I get to take them home and then do the experiment. The quality of a Penn State education is immeasurable. Just having the insignia and having a Penn State degree is way more valuable than almost any other university because you can go anywhere and tell somebody, yeah, I graduated from Penn State, and they'll know exactly what you mean. Graduating from Penn State, walking across the stage and getting my diploma would really mean so much to me because graduating from Penn State would mean that I've made my family proud. And that everything I've worked for the past 4 years, I've succeeded. And that means that for the rest of my life, I will be a Penn State graduate. I will bleed blue and white until the day I die. And I can always say that college was some of the best years of my life.
I think I'm supposed to be on the screen, so I'll just get started while we get that. There we go. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've seen that video before a couple of times, and every time Polly gets choked up, I get a little bit choked up too. Makes you proud to be a Penn Stater and see the love for the institution moving into the next generation. All right, so we've got about 20 minutes remaining in our program, and what we like to do is a little question and answer session. I had 1 or 2 questions come in already, but I'm going to open with a standard question that Dr. Barron and Melissa know is coming already, so the answer should be well prepared. And the question is, as we spend a little bit of time talking tonight about scholarship support, are scholarships the best way for donors to support students who have financial need?
Well, I'll tell you my opinion, and that is they're huge. We have a lot of students with unmet need. It just imagine if they're meeting that by multiple jobs versus having the opportunity to excel and to have that degree on time and to get a Penn State experience. Over and over and over again, we discover having that Penn State experience, having that level of engagement promotes success and a lifetime of success and enjoyment. So a scholarship which significantly defrays those costs is huge, in my opinion.
And Rich, I will echo that. I can unequivocally say, yes, scholarships are the best way. We find that every little bit helps our family because many times they are cobbling together multiple sources of funding to help pay down the direct costs. And we find that even a scholarship of $2,500 for the year is the tipping point for a family, that they can finally say, yes, I can do this.
Thanks for that. So Eric, I want to pick up a thread that in your response, because it ties to one of the questions that came in on the chat. and you mentioned jobs. So one of our guests tonight commented in the chat session that when she was a student at Penn State, she was able to pay for her tuition and fees by working, and was able to, cover her expenses, and wondered if that's still the reality for our students. Is it possible for a student to cover their own expenses?
So I have to admit that when I had a summer job when I was an undergrad, I could literally cover my cost substantially for the year. Certainly my tuition. Of course, that was in a day where public higher ed was part of the public good, and all of society believed that we should make that investment in the success of all these bright individuals. So that's one factor. And the second factor is that you just can't make that much money in a summer job. What you have for a minimum wage isn't sufficient any longer. So the combination of the increased costs and less support means that it's much more challenging for our students to cover their expenses by a summer job and even by working 20 hours a week. And if you work more than 20 hours a week, all of this evidence demonstrates that you do more poorly than your potential would have you do.
Okay, thanks. Melissa, a question for you. How does Penn State compare to our peer institutions when it comes to the amount of financial aid that we're able to award?
Well, when you talk about peer institutions, you can first talk about our Big Ten colleagues. That's one set of peers that we do compare ourselves to often. And I would say that from an endowment and institutional funding perspective, because of the volume of students that we serve, and when we compare numbers, we are comparing numbers for all of our locations of Penn State because we are one university geographically dispersed. Many of our colleagues are only referring to their flagship campuses that they disperse their funds to. So we always come in last. And I'm very unfortunate, but again, it's our volume because we take care of all of the students at Penn State. We want to make sure that funding goes to as many of them as possible, regardless of college, campus, or affiliation. When we look at our peers also state related, when we look at Pitt and Temple specifically, they again have smaller volumes, but they do tend to have standard scholarship awards that they give to their incoming freshmen, whereas we do not. And we're often compared to them as a sister or brother institution to say, Pitt is giving me a standalone scholarship, Temple is giving me a scholarship. Just because I'm coming, why can't Penn State do the same? And I've often wanted to be able to do that, to say, here is your scholarship just for coming to Penn State because we value what you bring to our institution.
That's really well said. I will tell people that, this is a big university and we're here to serve the Commonwealth and its students. And we have our campuses that have catchment areas that draw students into an absolutely excellent degree that might not otherwise have the opportunity. And as a consequence, we are the land of upward mobility. We are the place that a student can go from a family income in the bottom 20%, and 10 years out of their degree, they're upwardly mobile and tremendously successful. But if you think about that 100,000 students, we have more students in that need-based category than many universities have students. And so this is a bigger challenge for us. And because of the magnitude and size of that student population, many times we don't have as much yet to give to that student population because other universities are focused on a smaller portion of students than a Penn State has.
When Dr. Barron says we don't have enough yet, that's his signal to me that we need to keep raising money for scholarships.
Correct.
Message received. So maybe Melissa, back to this question about the amount of financial aid. A follow-up question from one of my good friends and classmates who's on the program actually, who asked me in a private chat that he hears stories about unclaimed scholarships nationally every year, I can tell you and the rest of the group that at Penn State, that's not the case. We spend a very high percentage of the scholarship resources that are available to us every year. It's typically in the 95 to 97% of dollars available. And that gap, the 3% to 5%, is typically money that comes in after the spring awards session, and we've already made our awards. So we do a great job with scholarship awards. But the follow-up question from my friend Joe is, are we also helping students to find external scholarships that are not that are not part of Penn State's portfolio, but could be available to our students?
Well, Rich, we do have information on the student aid website that does give information to students about external scholarship opportunities. We can also say that we don't know what all the opportunities are that are out there, but we research them. We try and go looking for what we know to be out there. We also are very actively involved with many external scholarship awarding agents who come to us to say, can we partner together to make sure your students get our scholarships? But yes, we do a very good job, I believe, of letting our students know. Now they have to do some homework on their own, but we let them know what the resources are. We have what they call scholarship search engines on our website where students can go. It's very important that students remember, wherever they go to look for scholarships, it should not cost them money to get money. So we always caution our students, if you're being offered a scholarship, don't pay to get it. So we have to be very judicious in the information we put on our site to direct students to look for other scholarships. So we do vet these sources first before we direct students in the path of going to look for outside scholarships. But I would say that we do a pretty good job of getting that word out there.
Molly, I have a question for you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sorry. So you and Eric endowed an Open Doors scholarship yourselves in honor of your granddaughter. Could you tell us why you did that?
Well, first of all, we always wanted to give to students, and we've done a couple of scholarships for EMS, but then we just decided, and we did ones in honor of our folks. And so then we thought, well, we'll just give one for Alice, our granddaughter. Well, she thought it was really funny because she looks herself up now, because she looks up Grandpa.
She Googles herself.
She Googles herself, and it says she's a philanthropist and she's 10. And so it's pretty cool. I think it's a good message for her to know that she should be thinking of other people too. So I like the whole idea, and we just really want to give to kids.
There's something special about the first time a child sees themselves when they Google their name, have it be associated with a scholarship that's helping someone else. So that was a side benefit.
Yeah, we didn't think about that when we did it. That wasn't the intent. But now that she told us she Googled herself, we like that idea that she has that thought that she's helping somebody else.
So personally, just giving, I really believe in the Open Doors scholarships. I really
Me
do.
too.
This whole notion of get your degree, make sure you get your degree, get it on time and have a Penn State experience. When many of these students aren't even expected to graduate, that's worth a lot. That's really worth a lot. And the two of us are not done yet.
And Melissa, I like the complete Penn State too, because I like those stories that have come out, that the ones that Eric's told over. I just think those are the more touching stories. So I really like that part of it too. So.
It just occurred to me as you were answering that question, Molly, that I'm still young enough that Alice will be a graduate of Penn State before I finish my career here, hopefully. Which means I might actually get the unique pleasure of asking your granddaughter to give to her named scholarship.
Okay, that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Sounds good to us.
I'm gonna mark my calendar for spring of 2032. So Eric, I've had a couple of questions come in. We've thrown around a lot of big numbers tonight related to the matching program. And I think maybe in sharing all of those numbers, there's a little bit of confusion. Could you maybe just quickly summarize what was the scope of the Open Doors matching program, and in total what the response from our donors was?
So I think the way to look at this is um, open door scholarships are different. People are used to the notion of here's a scholarship and it's some fixed amount. These are directed to a purpose. Fast start coming out of high school when you're coming out of a high school that doesn't have a lot of opportunity. Quick start on campus so that even if you have to work, you've built up a bank of credits that will let you graduate on time. You get into trouble at the end. Here's the funds that get you over the finish line. Oh, you lose a semester if you transition to a campus. Let's get rid of it. These are scholarships that have this purpose. And so our thought was that they were unusual enough, I would say innovative enough, that we weren't sure whether or not people would step up to give a gift when the mindset is a scholarship, which of course is incredibly valuable. So we decided to have a matching program. And if you gave a gift of a certain size, then, and it was university wide, greatest need in these scholarships, then we provided a double match. And if you gave within a unit, we provided a one-to-one match. So that's why you see translation of gifts that say $30 generating additional $60 million in open door scholarships to give you a much bigger impact for there. But to tell you the truth, Open Doors is a whole category of scholarships. And maybe Rich, to flip it back to you, in terms of the amount of money that we've raised in that category, my memory is it's $570 million or something of that order. But this is huge in terms of its impact. And of course, that includes any scholarship. As we said, all of these scholarships are opening doors for students.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. This was so one of the bits of confusion, I think, is we actually had two matching programs. One of them was Open Doors, which ended now more than a year and a half ago, and raised a very significant sum of money. We had $150 million in matching funds at the start of the program. And I think in total we generated close to 274 million, I think was the number. When it looked like we were getting close to exhausting the matching money, we suspended the program, but then we had some folks say no. So we had a little bit of money left over, and we used the money that was left over to fund the matching program for the educational equity matching program. And that program started with a $10 million pool of matching funds, which we exhausted in about 4 months, which is extraordinary. Dr. Barron agreed to double that to 20 million. And then when we closed that program, I think we had $1 or $2 million left over that we were just using for general operating support for the Open Doors initiatives. But the maybe the higher level message here is that in total, there was about $150 million in matching money. And we were able to secure donor commitments to expire nearly all of that $150 million. It's an incredible, just the equity matching program resulted in 166 new endowed scholarships at Penn State. And more than half of them came from donors who had never endowed a scholarship in the past. So just a tremendous experience for us.
I think our alumni sense how profound this moment is for students, that these scholarships are the difference between getting that degree and hopefully getting that Penn State experience and having a huge opportunity to be successful in life, or not even aspire to a Penn State degree, or maybe not to be able to finish. And you know, we have a tremendous work ethic. These students do an incredible job. I mean, I was talking today with one of the CEOs of a major company that was a Penn State graduate, and commenting on we're second in the nation in terms of having CEOs of major corporations. This is the work ethic. This is over and over again the case where someone had to work hard, work through school, and because of that education and work ethic, they were incredibly successful. And, you know, I think people remember what it was like to go to school and how important it was that any help made a huge difference in their own life success.
We're coming up on the conclusion of our scheduled time, but I do have one more question from the group in the chat session that I wanted to raise, and I'm not sure if it's better directed to Melissa or to President Barron, so I'll ask you both and you can arm wrestle over who answers it. Do we have a sense of what percentage of our students fail to graduate or drop out of school because of financial hardship?
Well, I can take that if you don't mind, Dr. Barron.
Please.
First. When you say drop out of school, that's a very hard term to define. So students might leave us by not finishing their degree. But where did they go? Did they go to another school that they found to be less expensive? Did they leave one campus of Penn State and go to another campus? Did they leave school, higher education, and not return at all? We have done some preliminary studies in that vein, but the data is so new that we don't have anything comparative to bump it up against. But I can say that it does happen. And anytime that happens, that's sad. Now, we don't know why they left. That's the crux of the problem, or why we can't analyze the data as full as we would like to, because they leave and they don't tell us why they're leaving. Many of these students are leaving in good academic standing. We do know that. They just don't tell us that they're leaving and they're not coming back. They could not be coming back for other life events that get in the way, and they plan on coming back eventually, but we don't know that. So yes, they're leaving. Some of them are not graduating, and those are the ones we are most concerned about. But we don't know whether they'll be coming back eventually, and we don't know why. So that's why the data is kind of nebulous, Rich. So I'll stop there and let Dr. Barron add his.
Well, Melissa, maybe you remember the number when we first contemplated complete Penn State, and we had some of the resources for donors. The thing that I was impressed about was that Penn State contacted individuals personally to ask them what was going on. And my memory is that it was several hundred individuals who were within 30 credits in good standing and hadn't gotten a degree. And we got a large segment of those across the finish line with the resources that came from donors. I remember one where an individual was one course short, and and asked why. They tried to take an overload, got a C in a course in their major in engineering, not good enough to graduate. They took the overload because their mother was sick, and he had to go help her. And so he took an overload. You can imagine how bright this student must have been if he took an overload in a tough major and still just managed 1 C and everything else counting. And he went, and then he had to work, and he had to take care of his mom. He never finished his Penn State degree. Complete Penn State helped him get across that finish line, and now he has a Penn State degree. I don't know whether you remember how many students were in that category, but it seemed to me it was several hundred.
And that was the first year that we launched Complete.
That was the first year. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure there have been many more since then that we're still reaching out to, but you're right, it was a few hundred in that first outreach. And those stories are so compelling. And I tell my staff all the time, when I hear a story like the one person who needed the one class to graduate, if we could help that one student be successful, to me, that's our starfish. That's our starfish that we saved, that we saved.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going all the way to the end minus 1 course, being in good standing, and not be able to tell someone you had a Penn State degree? It's mind-boggling in some ways, but yet, you know, the people like yourself who are incredibly concerned about students, that willing to contact them personally, you combine that with a donor making that gift and you just change someone's life.
That's right.
Well, I think we've gotten through all of the questions that have been posted to the chat session. And if I missed your question, I'm sorry. We'll catch it on the review and get an answer to you. But I want to take this opportunity to thank Melissa for being our guest presenter tonight, and Eric and Molly for your great reflections on the importance of scholarship support. Eric said something in his comments at the start of the Q&A session that has always resonated with me. That, you know, Penn State continues to really model the land grant tradition, that we have a very sizable percentage of our students who are first generation in their family to go to college and come from the bottom quartile of family income. And in fact, we have more of those students than some universities have students, period. And so, you know, when I reflect on the importance of the scholarship support that many of you have given and that we hope many more of you will give, or if you have given, you can do it again. What keeps coming back to me and is really a powerful motivator is the ability that we have to change the trajectory of a life. To take somebody who is coming from you know, a family that doesn't have the benefits of higher education and is in that bottom quartile of family income, give them a great education at a premier public university, connect them to the most powerful alumni network in the world with that great work ethic that Eric talked about. They are poised to be successful orders of magnitude more than if they didn't come to Penn State. And our donor dollars help make that happen. So, you know, tonight's program is both an update on Open Doors, but it's also a shameless plug. This is the biggest piece of our campaign. We are 15 months away from ending the campaign, and we still have about $200 million to go to reach our goal. So we are appealing to everybody in the Penn State stakeholder community to think about how you can help to support students by endowing your own scholarship. And if any of you are interested in learning more about how you can do that, at the conclusion of the program tonight, you're going to see contact information from my good colleague and friend, Dave Lieb, who can put you in contact with the right person on our team to help you navigate how you can establish your own endowed scholarship, which you can do for as little as $30,000 payable over 5 years. So it's for many families, many people, it is an achievable amount of investment that you can make in that notion of changing the trajectory of someone's life. So I will, in honoring our time commitment for tonight, keeping us done within the hour, I will use that final comment to conclude our program with thanks again to Eric and Molly and Melissa for their participation this evening and for your great comments. Please stay on and get Dave's contact information if you're interested in supporting the Open Doors Scholarship Initiative in this campaign. Stay healthy, stay safe. I hope all of you are getting your vaccines so that we can stop doing these Zoom sessions and instead start gathering together again as the Penn State family. We are.